Hi, I'm Mike, owner of the In-Groove in Phoenix, Arizona. Today I'm doing the new arrival video for January 29th, 2021. So, I want to start off with, there's two pretty solid pre-orders that come out. Part of the Universal series of titles they're doing in conjunction with Analog Productions. They're two Impulse titles. Gil Evans, Out of the Cool, and Ray Charles' Genius plus Soul. So, it's interesting because the Gil Evans title, the master tape was thought to be destroyed years ago. And kind of the common knowledge was the best sounding version of that was done in the 90s. But the master tape still exists because Ryan Smith is actually cutting it from the original analog master tape. So that's a phenomenal title, and that's going to be a special title, Gil Evans Orchestra. That is an unbelievably good sounding title. That is coming out in a few months, but the pre-orders are on the website for it now. The Ray Charles Genius plus Soul was cut by Kevin Gray. They're using the same metalwork from the original Analog Productions version. So that's the Kevin Gray master, which sounds absolutely phenomenal, but it's going to have that nice, thick Stoughton tip-on jacket that you've seen so far on the Coltrane's, the Getz, the Nina Simone's. Fantastic series. I'm a huge fan, kind of in line with the Tone Poets, but just the other Universal labels. Okay, so those are available pre-order on the website. Stevie Ray Vaughan's are shipping, so if you pre-ordered it from me, you're going to start getting shipping notices as of yesterday. I'm not sure if I'm going to have any of those things left over yet. If I do, I will put them on the Instagram page, or Store's Instagram page, or I'll put them on the website. I'm unsure about that. Also, there are 3 more titles for the Universal series that I don't have yet, but they'll be shipping over the weekend. So that's the Emercy title, Clifford Brown. And then we've got a couple of Decca titles, Peggy Lee, Black Coffee, phenomenal record, and George Russell, which I'm not familiar with, but I'm looking forward to give that a listen. There's also a Tone Poet that should be shipping out over the weekend, the John Scofield and the Pat Metheny title. Also, more news from Mobile Fidelity, the Run DMC, which has been sold out for months. I don't have any extra copies. MoFi sold out months and months ago. If you got pre-order, you're good. That's why some of these key titles, I don't put pre-orders on the website for everything, but the stuff that I put pre-orders for are the titles that I feel are going to be real hard to get, are going to be heavily allocated, or they're going to be titles that are limited, like the Run DMC. They only did 3,000 of those. A very small number for a audiophile hip-hop record, the actual, I believe, first ever audiophile hip-hop record. But yeah, that should be here, in the next week and a half, and it'll be shipping, a day or two. I'll have them all out. So yeah, that's it for news and pre-orders. So all the stuff can be purchased online on our website at www.theingroove.com. There's a lot of killer stuff this week. And I want to start with this Hugh Massacala. So when I originally did the top 10 in-print analog jazz records you should own, I wanted this on the list. The problem is I hadn't seen it in a while. It wasn't in the store. It wasn't available. I didn't want to put something on the list that, you couldn't get. The point of the list was show you guys killer sounding stuff that was available to buy. At the very least, I'm putting this on the top 100 in-print analog records you should own. But this is much better than this. This is one of the better than that top 100. This would be in the top 10. This is one of the best sounding records you will ever hear. The fact that it's live is even more mind-boggling. If you guys are familiar with the Norah Jones Come Away With Me, that level of sound quality, that's what this is. I mean, it is absolutely amazing. This is a must-own record. It's fun. It's rhythmic. I mean, this is a great record. Even if you're not a jazz guy, if you're an R&B guy, you'll appreciate this record. It is actually a double, but it is a 33 RPM version. So, yeah, unbelievably good record. Another title that I'm going to put on the top 100 in-print analog records you should own. Stan Getz and Charlie Bird's Jazz Samba. This is another absolutely fantastic record. This is at 45 RPM. This has been out of print. I don't think I've had this in well over a year. You know, going for double on the secondary market before I got it in. Fantastic title. If you like the Getz, Gilberto, you are going to like this. Obviously, Charlie Bird. There's a lot more guitar on this record, but it is absolutely fantastic. No vocal, but really, really good. Also back from Analog Productions, The Doors self-titled. This has been the hardest one to get for quite some time, but I finally got the self-titled back in print, and I probably have most of them, you know, most of the titles. Like the Soft Parade, we haven't seen in a while, but I probably have most of their catalog now, you know, on the website. So from the top 10 in-print analog records you should own, speaking of, Getz Gilberto. This is the 45 RPM version. It comes in a 33 RPM. It's a universal title. Kind of talked about, mentioned it already. The 45 is significantly better. It is really, really, really good. There's a couple of issues with the master tape that are pretty unnoticed. They're almost impossible. You're not going to notice them unless you know specifically where they are and what to listen for and what to, you know, you really got to know what you're looking for and where you're looking for it at. The 45, much harder to tell what you're even looking for, and the sound quality is so much more dynamic. The horn just leaps out at you on this particular record. It is unbelievable. The 45 RPM, this is one of those records that, so sometimes the 45 and the 33 are close. This is one of those records that every time I play any other version of this record, period, and the 33 that they did recently is really, really good. It's probably the best that album sounds at 33 RPM. But I've never played that record or any other record, pressing of this, I should say. Speaker's Corner did it, all the various original pressings, Mobile Fidelity did it. I've never played any of those records and said, eh, and then immediately put this one on right afterwards because it is so much better than every other version of this record. Okay, so a couple of new Tone Poets. Things are starting to come on time. It's a wonderful thing here at the In Group where you can actually get records at the time they were supposed to come in. Lee Morgan's The Raja. This has Hank Mobley, Paul Chambers, Billy Higgins, and Cedar Walton. I have not listened to this album. I've got high hopes for this. Bass on Top, Paul Chambers. This is an amazing album. This is actually going to be the stereo version. At this particular time, Rudy Van Gelder was recording in stereo and in mono. So Bass on Top, I don't know if the stereo has ever even been reissued. Amazing record, part of the, you know, legendary Blue Note 1500 series, although it's stereo, so it's 8 1500, 69. But Kenny Burrell, Paul Chambers, Art Taylor on drums, Hank Jones, phenomenal record. So two solid Tone Poets. God, we're just getting so much cool stuff. If you're just getting into vinyl, you're like super, super lucky. Because if you were doing this 15 years ago, like you'd wait 2 months for something cool to come out. 3 months, 4 months. I mean, it was a major, major deal. And I remember at the time when stuff started trickling out, nobody wanted, I remember the Led Zeppelin classic titles were $30 a piece. And I remember people griping about that. Oh man, $30 for a Led Zeppelin record? And I don't think they ever sold very well. I'd go into record stores and you would see the same Led Zeppelin 4 classic record sitting there for 2 months. You know, the same copy. You could tell it wasn't moving. And it was kind of funny when you think back on it, you know, $30, those records are all 200 plus now. But yeah. Also, these have already started shipping. If you've got pre-orders in on these should all be shipped out in the next day or two. But from the Blue Note Classic Series, Wayne Shorter, Speak No Evil, and Horace Silver, Song for My Father. All analog, cut by Kevin Gray. These are amazing. They're pressed at Optimal. Generic cover. It's not like the Tone Poet, but they're $10 cheaper. They're $24.99. Okay, so another big restock. This is the 45 RPM mono, which is the analog version of the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds at 45 RPM. I did a shootout video, and my preferred version of this is actually the stereo. although this is a digital record. This is one of the very, very few times where you'll ever hear me say that the best sounding version of something is a digital version, but it is. The stereo copy, they went back to the original stems. This was an album that was, you know, there was like 70 instruments, or a ridiculous number of instruments on this record. And they were able to go back to the original stems, and kind of similar to what they've done to, you know, the modern 50th anniversaries of the Beatles albums. And the sound quality is so much better on the stereo. The vocals don't have that distortion. They're unbelievably good sounding. And also, this is what, maybe one of the 10th greatest albums of all time. Fantastic. Although if you look at that new Rolling Stones 500 greatest albums of all time, you probably won't find that anywhere close. It's actually, yeah, I have not good things to say about that list. I laughed a lot when I read it. It's kind of comical. Some Tone Poet restocks. The very first Tone Poet, Chick Corea. Now He Sings, Now He Sobs. Something I've not had in a while. This is stuff that, you know, some of these titles I've not had in months and months. Dexter Gordon's Clubhouse. Joe Henderson, The State of the Tenor, Volume 1. There's actually a Volume 2 of this, but... Sam Rivers, Contours. God, there's... Hopefully I pulled it out. There's actually one of the most desirable titles, and I left it out of the pile. Tone Poet of Grant Green's Born to Be Blue. Yeah, it was Born to Be Blue. But yeah, that the Grant Green, some of the Grant Green Tone Poets are back in stock. Okay, a title I have not seen from a while from one of my absolute favorite labels, Miles Davis ESP. This is on Impex. This was, I believe, cut by Kevin Gray. Impex makes phenomenal sounding records. If you guys have listened to any of the records I've recommended, you know, if you've purchased those and listened to them, you know what I'm talking about. The Impex stuff is fantastic. Should be heavily considered. You know, there's a MoFi version of this at 45 RPM, which is really good, but this is a 33 RPM. Also a title that has been out of stock for a long, long time. Months I haven't had this. Monk's Dream. This is the Impex version. Fantastic. Really, really, really good. The Jennifer Warren's titles have been out as well for a really long time. This is The Hunter. Amazing sounding titles. This I was listening to an hour and a half ago. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Unbelievably good. When Shining Star kicks on this, you're going to be like, whoa, that's awesome. This, I played it in the store. I think there was 4 people in the store. I think 3 out of the 4 people bought this record while the first song was playing. They were blown away. It is that good. Jennifer Warren's Another Time, Another Place. Real nice gatefold from Impex. A lot of great, you know, Impex doesn't have a lot of titles in their catalog, but we got a good chunk of them back in stock now. Another Jennifer Warren's title, The Well. This, I believe, yes, this is a 3-disc set. Nice, heavy box, reasonably priced. But check this out. This is, it actually has a metal numbered plaque. This is metal and it's glued onto the box. Limited edition, 4162 in metal. Not something you're going to see too often. Really good title from ORG, Joe Hendricks, Fast Livin' Blues. Yeah, this was done by Bernie Grunman from the original Analog Master tapes. Pressed at RTI. This is numbered. I want to say they only did 2,500 of these. This is 280. This is a classic audiophile title that's been done by absolutely everybody. I think Speaker's Corner did this. Mobile Fidelity did this. This is the ORG pressing. The Mysterious Film World of Bernard Herrmann. Fantastic. Ah, there it is. I was telling you about it. Grant Green's Born to Be Blue. This is one of those records that people were calling me and saying, hey, Mike, should I pay $80, $100 for this? Kind of like the Chet Baker Sings. you know, I really want this record. Should I just pony up or will it ever come back? Yes, it will come back. It's only been out for like a year. They're not going to go through all the effort to make this record and then just stop. You know, Blue Note's new philosophy is they want this stuff in print. That's why they're doing these titles now. They're not allowing other companies to do them. They want those titles in print. They're not going to make them and then, you know, discontinue them a month later. Stanley Turrentine's Hustlin', another great tone poet. God, I got a ton of new arrivals. I should have put the restocks behind the new arrivals. Lou Donaldson with probably one of the absolute greatest drum breaks of all time. This is an amazing record. It's one that I use to get people into jazz. Check out the top 10 jazz records for people who don't like jazz. Yet. Okay, they're continuing with the John Prine catalog. Storm Windows. Now, these are actually the hard albums to get. You know, those earlier albums you see, although you don't see any John Prine stuff in the wild really anymore. It's getting kind of hard. You know, but I would say the Asylum stuff is the hardest, or the Old Boy stuff is the hardest, then Asylum, and then his original stuff. But Storm Windows, Pink Cadillac. Now, this is a title that was just a standard release, speaking of Old Boy, September 78th. This was like a $100 record, this exact version of it. For a couple of years, got a repress. And Bruised Orange, considered probably his best, or probably most people's favorite. I'm not a John Prine fan, so I'm not going to comment on which album of his is better. Okay, so yeah, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 John Prine titles back. A couple of restocks, so I showed both of these last week, but these two particular ones sold out immediately. Brothers in Arms and On Every Street. These are the Rhino Start Your Ear Off Right titles. Here's another one from last week that I showed that everybody wanted back. This is the Music on Vinyl version of Kansas Point of No Return. There's only 1,500 of these that were pressed on flaming vinyl. New arrival from PJ Harvey, Is This Desire? The demos. Bayo, Dead Hand Control on Glass Note. All right, what do we got? And then, of course, PJ Harvey is the actual album, Is This Desire? That's kind of, they're doing all her stuff as album, companion demo disc. Okay, so came in a little late. Sarah Vaughan, one of those wonderful Universal titles I was telling you about. All analog. Stout and tip-on jacket, glossy cover, absolutely fantastic. Good luck trying to find a clean version of this album. I would have a heart attack if I saw this thing in VG Plus EX. I mean, it's just, these old MRC titles just are next to impossible to find in near mint. And then near mint and sounding good would probably be another feat unto itself. But yeah, I've got the Sarah Vaughans now. I'll have the Clifford Browns maybe tomorrow when they're going to be shipping out throughout the week. What is this? Bring Me the Horizon. Interesting packaging, yeah. Okay. King Diamond in Concert, 1987. Another title from Bring Me the Horizon, Count Your Blessings. This is on limited edition, colored vinyl. It says gold on the back. Some nice Japanese imports. Heaven Sent in Ecstasy. So this is from P-Vine. P-Vine goes back and does a lot of really, really, really great, rare soul titles. And this is one of them. With that, and just, you know, in typical Japanese style, nice heavy cardboard quality. Another Bring Me the Horizon title. more Bring Me the Horizon. This is actually a really good album. Another P-Vine title, Soul Expedition. Really, really good. What do we got here? Oh, Bring Me the Horizon. Guess we're getting a reissue campaign. So this is the 50th anniversary edition. Grateful Dead, Anthem of the Sun. Actually says this reissue on the back. Let's see, Lucero. What's the name of this? When You Found Me. I got a good chunk of the Crow soundtracks back in. So this is an interesting one. This was the hottest. This was a Record Store Day title a couple years ago. It was the hottest title of the year. They were going for like $250. Never really went down. They issued this for October. Put my order in. It's out of print technically, but I don't think they filled everybody's orders, or even. I mean, I got a couple of these. They filled next to none of these orders, but they've kind of been trickling in. I'll get 2 a week, 3 a week, 4 a week for the last couple of weeks. So nothing of significance, but yeah. Poppy, I disagree more. The Acid Test. I actually had an original of this come into the store. You know, maybe it was about 4 years ago. I bought a killer Sight collection and it was in there. Kind of a classic. New album by Warhorse. Got some restocks of some Blue Note 80ths. So like the classic series, these are all cut by Kevin Gray. They're all analog. But the classic series is kind of the heavy hitter titles, the stuff that, you know, the A-slot titles. Although, man, I look at an album like, I love Una Mas. This is, God, one of the greatest jazz albums of all time to me. But I would have to say that the classic series was, you know, their lesser popular titles, I guess, would be the nicest way to put it. But the B-list titles. Although I look at this, I feel bad calling it a B-list title. But yeah, there it is. Una Mas, Herbie Hancock's on that. Reuben Wilson. One of those albums that absolutely nobody knows about, but every time I play it in the store, people buy it. Lee Morgan's follow-up to the Sidewinder, The Rump Roller. This was an album that Blue Note pressured him to make because the Sidewinder was so successful. So, yeah. Joe Henderson's In and Out with Kenny Dorham. Great record. Another copy of The Rump Roller. Herbie Hancock. All the Herbie titles are extremely hard to keep in stock, but Inventions and Dimensions, killer cover. Look at that. That's just great. Great record. Okay, so last, the Bob Mould box set. They're doing 4 of these box sets. This is the indie exclusive version of this box. They only made 500 of these. It's all on a clear splattered vinyl, and they're all autographed. I believe there's a book or there's a card or something inside of there is autographed. But yeah, this is the Distortion box number 2. This is 1996 to 2007. But yeah, this is on the website. I got the first one in. It sold out pretty quick. And yeah, that is box number 2. So, but yeah, they said on there they're doing it a series of, I think the hype I read online is they're doing 9 LPs, 6 studio albums. That's going to be an exclusive screen print, hand signed by Bob Mould. So yeah, there you go. All right, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Check out our Instagram and Facebook page. Don't forget, you can shop online at www.theingroove.com.